Do you believe in the existence of extraterrestrials?
Good morning, good evening, or good afternoon, depending on where and when you're watching this broadcast. I'm Thomas Fessler, my friends, and this is Disclosure Tonight. Happy Saturday, December 21st, 2024, as we all come together as a community to talk about those things in our skies, those things our government wants to cover up, those things that we'll call UFOs, and sometimes we'll call them out as drones. As it's been one heck of a crazy November and December, it's about time for us to come together as a community to talk about this on our regular scheduled program. Actually, but wait, no, we've taken our regular program and turned our production time back to 10 p.m. London time to go ahead and welcome in our friends from across the pond. It's something we've been doing for a while because you know what? Everyone around the world deserves some disclosure tonight. On that note, my friends, let me go ahead and welcome you to the studio, my friends. Oh, I've got some things. What the heck is popping? Oh, coffee cups and other stuff. We'll figure out that in a bit, what's going on here. Oh, it's the monitor. There we go. Yeah, it's a green screen setup. What can I say? But you know what? It works, my friends. On that note, let's go ahead and take a look of who the heck we have in the audience. Drums, please. So loud. There we go. And the drums are coming back through Mike, but that's okay. Here we go. All right, let's go ahead and mute Mike for a second. All right, let's do that. Let's go ahead and see who the heck we have out there for our audience today. Would you look at that? We've got a bunch of great people out there. We have Alien Biker, Andrew Murphy's here, along with Andy W., better known as Yellow Tommy Tanker, in the chat, and he's in the back as well. We have Angry Unsugared, Marshmallow Peep. Man, and no wonder why he's angry. Anton Ghost is here along with Osriel Aries. We've got Badger all the way from Bothell, the Bothell Badger. There we go. We got Becky Abrell, Brian Hoare. I think that's right. They've said it wrong because someone's name could be Bucket, but they'll pronounce it Bouquet. Let's go ahead and welcome in Brian W. Bridge Too Far. We got Buster Larson, 1312. CND Boy is here along with Dead Inside, 6-something. We got Donald Harris, Eric Groth, and the Gurus popped in, along with Celestian Greyhawk. Shorts for short attention spans. Ooh, what's that? Something shiny. Oh, there we go. Let's thank Firefly for being here, along with Frank Barone. We got Freda Childiv. There we go. Let's move on. Gray Jedi's here, along with Jacob Slowweight. We got Jamie Carnes, Jan, Jet Set Journeys. I could deal with that right now. We got Joey Rendlesham. Oh, nice. We got John Mooner, John Moskowitz. I almost screwed up on that one, John. Sorry. Cap K's here, Kathy, and Kelly Broad, and her piercing blue eyes. Good to see you as always, Kelly. We got Clipper here, Larry Sandell, Liliana Chuna. Mr. Clicker is here, Clicker of the Litz. Let's thank Louisville Charlie, Maria Dolores, Maritime Unprepared. We got Martin Browers, Marvin the Martian, Max Gunnard. Mia Luna's here. Along with Mike and Neri. Good to see you two again. We got Minnow Poo. Nancy Guzmano's here along with, and thanks for stopping in last night, Nancy. It was nice to actually talk to you for a bit last night. Nicholas Urich is here along with Niles Guy. The official UFO hub just popped in along with Mr. Paul Damon, who's promised to keep it real. We also have Raph Purnell. Reality Check, VIP, also known as Hollywood Herald, is stopping by. We got Ricardo Segova Jr. Rich Buddy is here, along with River B. McDonald, Rollins. Keep it rolling, my friend. Sam's here. Sander Jutt, Skyloop Stash. We got Stephen Forbes, Tamisha Bertrand. Good to see you, Tamisha, all the way from the state of Washington. We've got Terrence Wills, Tony F., The Toxic Revenger, Trevor Williams, V. Marie, Waynos Ryan. Warren and Carissa Rowe, another couple, good to see you. And William Sager, how about that? But sometimes, my friends, it's not just about the people in the chat. Sometimes It's about the people in the chat. And by that sound, it's that time to go ahead and welcome our friends from the back. Our first person coming up that we're going to introduce is our dear friend, Andy W., all the way from the UK. How's it going, Andy?
Hey, Thomas. Yeah, not too bad. Bit of sinusitis, but yeah, loving Saturday. Family visiting today, and family I've not seen since pre-COVID. So, yeah, great day.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for coming here. We got, hey, there's some good stories in the United States, and there's a big story about what's been going on in the United Kingdom. There has been a tremendous story in the Times that we're going to be bringing to everybody today. If you haven't seen it, we'll be covering it in detail.
I've not seen it, so yeah, it'll be good to look forward to that one.
Absolutely. Let's welcome Daniel in. How's it going, Daniel? All right. Microphone. There he is.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming in, Daniel. Appreciate you being here.
Massachusetts, former Marine, retired police officer.
Oh, wow. Retired police officer like Mike. Cool to have you here, my friend.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for joining. Also want to welcome our dear friend, Ed Brown. He's been around this week, and it's great to have you here, Ed. How you doing?
Well, I'm doing real well, and it's good to be back from Central Texas coming to you. I was going to show you how pretty my tree is, and then you put Daniel's tree on, and I felt really, really bad.
Yeah.
His tree is much prettier than mine.
Just wait. We got Laura Campbell coming on next. Laura, how you doing, my dear lady?
Doing great, Thomas. I was also going to remind you that none of your business. She's also a retired police officer from Australia.
Yeah. Awesome. It's great to see such a great mix of people, especially you coming from the upper Midwest and the great state of Wisconsin.
Wisconsin, beer and cheese and Packers.
Yeah, I need to go ahead and send you a cheese hat, my friend.
Oh, no, please. No.
Hey, I'm a fib. You know what fib stands for, right?
Yes, I
Frickin'
do.
Illinois bastard.
I know, but I like Illinois.
Yeah.
I really do. I go there a lot.
There you go. Absolutely. Thank you for coming in. Also, we have another one of our friends who was here last night, and he's back for some more punishment. Let's welcome in Lord McCormick. How's it going, Lord McCormick? I think he's from the UK as well. But there he is.
Hi, guys. Yeah, can you pick me up?
We got you, my friend. Thank you for coming in.
It's great to be back with you, Thomas. Mike, Disclosure, Andy over there. Glad to see you feeling a bit better, brother. It's great to be back. Just live, be part of this great community. Looking forward to I'm hyped for this show. And early for the UK. This is good.
Yeah, that's why we do it. Saturday,
it.
2 p.m. for all of our friends in the UK. I'm glad you could find this opportunity to hang out with us today.
We appreciate it. I've got some done a bit of research into New Jersey that I'll drop in later on once you'll pass your main points. But it's quite interesting. So I'll catch you guys in a bit.
Thank you, sir. Let's see if he's going to answer. Our dear friend from Washington State. Let's see if Nick's here. How's it going, Nick? Come on, Nick. See if you can find that microphone. Just ask like you're asking me a question in the middle of nowhere. Oh, we lost him. No, he's there, but all right. On that note, let's turn off the back chat and let's turn off the music. And of course, it's time to bring out our producer of the show and investigative reporter, Mr. Mike. Oh, wrong one. Mike, Disclosure. How's it going, Mike?
Oh, it's going well, Thomas. And it seems like for our international audience, we have a lot of interesting stories to cover, including one coming out of Lakenheath base. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot of interesting things here. Apparently, they just finished off the buildings for housing the nuclear warheads, which apparently are on their way. So, yeah, no wonder why there's about a lot of interesting things going on there, eh, my friend?
A lot of activity, and especially with these drones. They're probably looking to see exactly what's being built and what's going to be stored there.
Yeah, absolutely. But before we get things started, what's it called? Flush. We'll get there, my friends. We do have a super chat that came in all the way from Washington State. Let's thank Tamisha Bertrand for starting off the super chats tonight. Yeah, every dollar that comes into our fund goes back in the production of our show. I'm so humbled and thankful, honestly. Thank you, Tamisha, for starting off that super chat tonight. Happy holidays to my DT family. It's not just us, it's all of you. So happy holidays to you and everybody else. But since we've got that, let's go ahead and find happy holidays. Yeah, that's my favorite show, Holiday Inn, one of the great holiday greats. Yeah, it goes over a lot of holidays, a lot of good Christmas stuff in there. Hopefully everyone has had a chance to see it. If you haven't, look it up. It's a classic, my friends. On that note, let's go ahead and jump right into our newsroom. And we've got a couple stories in the United States first. The first one's coming to us about a New Jersey senator pleads for government transparency. He's calling it out like we have. It's a cover-up, my friends. Let's see what he has to say and reflect on it before we get on to our next one and into the story on Lakenheath. So here we go, friends. Oh, why did that get moved up? There we go. This is not playing. Let's try the next one. Okay, I have to laugh at this one. Mike, guess what? Our videos aren't playing today. Let's see if I can...
Why the hell is that? What's going on?
I don't know. Let's try and shut it down. Bring another one up. Let me get to my downloads. Let's see if this one is going to play now. Oh, Jesus Christ. QuickTime Player is not working today. So let me open this with VLC. See if that works. I'm going to have to go ahead and adjust my audio. Let's see if this is going to play. Okay, it's playing, but I've got no audio. Give me a second to fix my audio system. I don't know what's going on, Mike. This is the first time that QuickTime has not
happened like this on a live show. I know.
Oh, I know. Welcome to the live show, my friends. Let me get to me first. Let me add an application, VLC. I've got the audio for me. I've got the audio for now for you. Let me make sure we've got VLC for the back audience. And then let's then get to OBS Safari. I think that's the one we're using for everything else. Let's throw VLC into there. Oh, I think that should work. Let's give it a try again. Yeah, just when you think it works, it stops working. Let's see if the audio's there on this really quick.
Let's go to how we know.
And still,
I hear it now.
You can hear it. I can't. You can hear it?
Yeah, I hear it.
Well, congratulations. You can hear it. I can't.
Perfect.
Let me start another sound output here. Let me throw it to VLC. Let me put a monitor into my stereo system. Try this once more. Let's see if I can hear audio.
That they could be.
I can hear it now. Let's see if the audience can hear this. Welcome, everybody.
Wrong. Another piece.
All right. We've got audio. We've got video. So let me go ahead. That's not the one I wanted to play first. Let me go ahead and bring this one open with VLC.
Spoke with you last week.
Okay, we've got that one. We got that one. The audience can hear it. Let me go ahead and I'm sorry, folks. Yeah, welcome to live broadcast. I never have to test out the video, but today, apparently, Mike, I should have. All right, getting to our first story here. Just tell us, New Jersey senator pleads government transparency. He's calling it a cover-up, and I have to agree. That's exactly what we're dealing with. Here we go, folks.
Your comments.
Here, rewind and play.
Spoke with you last week. Your comments resonated with our viewers who have also been frustrated by a lack of information. Tell us now, after we last spoke, what are you hearing when it comes to the drone investigation? Are you getting the answers you were demanding?
Just the opposite. It is so inconsistent. So originally we met with the state police. They didn't have any idea. People were being concerned. And then there were these secret meetings, Congress people, I assume the governor, and they said, listen, it's nothing. Don't worry about it. Federal government at the beginning said, you're not seeing what you're seeing. So people started to feel a little better. And then the FAA shut down the airspace. Now, if there's nothing going on, why do you shut down the airspace? We never
Mike, I have to pause on this one. The New Jersey senator brings up a really great point. If there's nothing wrong, there's no national security list, why in the hell would our government or the FAA, which is part of the federal government, shut down the airspace over so many different areas except to keep civilians from putting their own eyes in the sky?
And what's the term that they're using? Oh, I know. It's a national security issue. That's what they're using for the no-fly zones. But didn't Admiral John Kirby recently say that there was no national security threat? or a threat to public safety from these objects. So they're contradicting themselves within a day, it seems like.
No, I call that out. It was going on, not believable. It's a cover-up, like Tim Burchett would always say. We need to have a soundbite of that one. But yeah, it's definitely a cover-up of what's going on. Let's get back to this video a little bit further. I just had to interject on this one piece because this guy is on target. Here we go.
An answer to why they did that. So what we have in communities now, sky watchers in Mendham, New Jersey, they actually go out at night and watch the sky. Mayors call me and say, what should we do? You know, the federal government has to either say everything's absolutely perfect, there's no threat, but you can't hedge your bets. You can't say there's no threat and then shut down the airspace. That is so inconsistent that people are now terribly confused.
It's safe to say you are not satisfied, along with your constituents, rightfully so. You did call for an additional FAA restrictions on drones in your state in New Jersey. The FAA has since imposed that. Have you seen an impact from that ban so far in your state?
Well, the impact is there may be less sightings, but there's more confusion. And when you have more confusion, you have more conspiracy theories. More conspiracy theories. Now people are saying things that create fear. And the last thing you want with the public is fear. What you want is transparency and information, and we're not getting it.
Why do you think the ban?
And you know, Mike, he's calling it out as conspiracy theories, but it's possible scenarios that we could be running through on this rather than just saying, oh, look, we have these things in the sky. What could it be? It's good to go ahead and talk about what are the possible scenarios of what it could potentially be. And a lot of the scenarios we've been hearing with it could potentially be, that it's been mentioned before, it could be the United States government potentially looking for WMD that could have gotten its way into the United States. That's been echoed by many members of Congress and local legislatures and mayors as well, right, Mike?
Yes, it has, Thomas. They think that these objects are forming some sort of a search grid pattern looking to detect something. But again, with all of these various theories that we've covered here on the show, there doesn't seem to be any direct evidence to support anything that's been put out there so far, because we're not getting any data or information from the government itself. Now, the incoming president-elect, Donald Trump, has publicly stated, and we covered that the other day as well, that the government absolutely knows where these objects are coming from and where they're going.
But right? I have to say this, Mike. People in the chat, I mean, in the comments, were pretty brutal, saying, "Oh, anything Trump says, you're going along with." But we've been holding up this little magic blue ball much longer than President Trump has been saying it. Basically, I'll repeat what we've been saying: is that United States government, more importantly, our military, our Space Force, our National
Spatial Agency, the NRO, National Reconnaissance Office, have platforms that are able to pick up very small objects very close to the Earth from high away. So how could they not know?
Mike, they can go ahead and detect an object this size all the way from the surface out to beyond the moon. So to say we don't know where they're coming from, especially they're coming from the ocean, like from the Navy, they're coming in, doing their dirty task for 6 hours a night and then going back again. You know, our government has to know what's going on. Our DOD has to know what's happening. Our intelligence communities should know what's going on. Otherwise, why are we paying all of this money for not being able to protect the homeland? It just doesn't make sense.
No, it's nearly $1 trillion budget that the Department of Defense gets every year of our taxpayer money. And they're now claiming for over a month straight, we've had a literal invasion of these drones all across the country, and they're claiming they have no knowledge of it. They're looking to the public for information. That's an insult, and we've talked about that since this has been going on here.
Yeah. Now, there is a senator from the area as well we've got a bunch of great information from him. He went into this. Was it Andrew Kim?
Yes.
Yeah, he put up like a 24 tweet storm going ahead and getting to the details based on the information he's been giving, and he's calling it a cover-up as well. We'll be covering that shortly. Let's get back to this, onto the Lakenheath story, and then on to more of this. Here, let's continue.
And took so long. Should it have been enacted earlier or sooner?
Of course. but we still don't know why. If you're going to say everything's okay and then you do the ban, obviously things were not okay, and therefore they should have done the ban earlier.
Your fellow New Jersey official, Andy Kim, posted on Friday that detection resources have increased, reported sightings are down. Does that satisfy you a bit? And what do you want to see done next, Senator?
Well, what really confused me, they sent drone detection techniques or I guess whatever they sent makes no sense. Doesn't the federal government, don't they watch the skies? Doesn't the Department of Defense watch? They're sending us drone watching equipment to the state of New Jersey? Why? I have figured the Defense Department watches the sky all the time. That's even more scary to me. They're sending us the equipment. Don't they watch if there's an SUV-sized drone in the sky? Doesn't the Air Force know that? Now they're sending it to us, and then they're shutting down the airspace in places. This is so confusing. There must be something going on. Just tell us. We can take the truth.
Well, now I have to ask, because Senator Kim has also recommended law enforcement in New Jersey be trained on identifying drones. What do you think is the best way to prevent this from happening again?
How about the federal government? They have the ability to shoot down a drone in the Ukraine. They can follow a drone from the time it takes off until the time it lands. And they want to train us? I'll tell you, that's worrisome. I figured our country was well defended against drones the size of SUVs that are flying around. I guess they want the state to do more than we're doing. We don't have those resources. State police have a few helicopters. That's it. To train people to what? Wait, here it is. They're going to train us so we know what we're looking at. How about just telling us what's going on and we don't have to look up in the sky? People ask me, what should I do? I said, don't look up.
Are your constituents still panicked, Senator? You mentioned a lot of them were, rightfully so, last week.
Well, New Jersey people don't tend to panic too quickly. There's a lot of discussion. There's some people extremely worried. I don't think anyone's panicking now. If one of these things lands and the Martians get out, maybe they'll panic. I think they're confused. That's the first question people ask me about. Tell us about the drones. It's a secret, right? But you can tell me. I go like this. Nobody knows.
Thanks for watching. Go to joinnn.com.
All right, let's go ahead. We have someone in the back with their hands up right now. Let's get to Andy W. Andy, go ahead, my friend.
I forgot to put my hand down earlier. Don't worry about it, mate. The moment's passed.
Or is it somebody else? No, that was just it. Mike, your thoughts on this video? I think he's calling it out pretty well. It's a cover-up from our government. They clearly know what's going on.
They clearly do know what's going on, like we've been covering here over and over again with the sensor platforms at their disposal. They absolutely should know exactly what the story is with these drones, but they have no information for the public or even local elected officials that are frustrated and angry at the bullshit coming out of the government. It's a disgrace, is what it is.
Yeah, our government keeps on looking around, and all they can say is,
"We ain't found shit."
About where it is, Mike. Yeah, just so people know, we play these little sound bites and different things because here at Disclosure tonight, while we've been serious about drones and everything that's been going on with UFOs, sometimes we have to be serious about not being serious. They have to have a little bit of levity and humor to go along with this stuff because it's so serious, right, Mike?
Oh, absolutely. Because listen, the public doesn't know what the hell is going on. They have a right to be unsure and afraid. And they look to the government that is supposed to be protecting us to provide answers, and there aren't any. So, yeah, everyone is really at this point fed up with the lack of a response from our government about what the hell has been going on the whole time.
But it's not just been the drones on the East Coast. There has been a lot of inundations of military bases across the United States for going back too many years to count. Now, this is another story that you've got coming from Chris Cuomo, who is reporting on some, if you want to call it, drones that have been seen, pretty large ones, coming over military bases, farms, and other parts of the homeland that clearly are not government sanctioned. Maybe it could be something from our adversaries, or who knows what. Don't forget, there's a lot of interest in our military bases by the non-human intelligence. They have been known to fly their, if you want to call it orbs or whatever they are their craft over our nuclear arsenals, over our military bases that have nuclear weapons. And, this story kind of goes along with it. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this next video up and see where it takes us. Here we go, folks.
So let's go to how we know that they could be wrong. Another piece of proof. Chris Grooms, former member of law enforcement in Nebraska. People in his state reported sightings. He was aware of them. Drones, big ones. And they know big in Nebraska.
And again, these may not be drones. Granted, we are in drone fever these days, folks. What he's about to talk about is more probably UAP than it is a drone.
And he saw them too, and says federal officials did virtually nothing. He joins me with Matt Ford from the UAP Disclosure Fund. You should look it up. I can't join things like that because I'm a working journalist, but I know people who are part of it. It's a straight-up organization that is rooted in trying to get what we all want, no matter what you believe. Government has a duty to tell us what it knows, and it can do that in balanced national security interests. Matt is all about that. Respect, and good to have you here. But Chris, thank you for your patience in my yawning introduction. What do you want people to know about whether or not there are big-ass drones potentially in the skies around this country?
Yeah, so absolutely. This has been going on for quite a while now. We had our incidents back in December of 2019 and 2020, January. And they were large. I mean, we had deputies, sheriffs, witnesses, civilians in our local area here in Ord, Nebraska, seeing these things, that some of them were being reported by sheriffs the size of Suburbans and Ram 1500 pickup trucks. And these things weren't, they weren't 20,000 feet, 5,000 feet, even in the air. They were being seen at 100, 150 feet, 60 feet. It was the real deal.
And you're saying you saw it too, and you know the difference between a helicopter and what you saw?
Correct. Yep. I got a little bit of a military background. I spent almost 11 years active duty in the 82nd Airborne. Saw combat in Afghanistan and Iraq. So I've jumped out of planes. I've jumped out of helicopters. I've fast roped out of helicopters. Aerosoled out of them. I know what a difference between an airplane is, a helicopter is, and what a big looking drone thing in the sky that's the size of an SUV is.
So here's the question to our mutual friend, Mr. Ford. First of all, welcome, Matt. I hope we have more conversations going forward. Appreciate what you're trying to do.
Thank you, Chris.
Either they don't know or they don't want us to know. Which do you think it is, and why?
Yeah, Chris, thanks for having me. I mean, really the takeaway here, when you hear the testimony from Officer Grooms, it demonstrates that the Biden-Harris administration is absolutely gaslighting Americans. I mean, just look at the clip that you played of Pete Buttigieg, making fun of it. Despite mounting concerns from local authorities in New Jersey and elsewhere, the White House is just not being honest with the American people. They want the Americans to think that this is something new. I think it was NSC National Security Council spokesman Admiral John Kirby said, we want the same answers as you do. But with Chris's story and others, it lays bare that this is a nationwide problem dating back to at least 2019, what occurred in Colorado and Nebraska. Just last year, December of last year in 2023, Langley Air Force Base was virtually shut down by massive swarms of drones. They had to relocate an entire wing of F-22 fighters just this Thanksgiving of this year, prior to what happened in New Jersey. These things began showing up over our joint Air Force bases in the UK. They are showing up at NATO bases in Europe and Germany.
Hey, Mike, I think, Matt's got great intentions here, but I think what's going on is we're contemplating all the different drone sightings and putting them into the same bucket. When we're getting a lot of different sightings of things over our military bases, these are particularly not just drones, but UFOs and orbs that are checking this stuff out. Now, if they are drones and they are coming over military bases or over our homeland, that raises a national security risk to say what we're actually dealing with here could be a foreign adversary. Now, if you look back at our United States government, going back to 1947, they've been taking anything that could potentially be a UFO or an orb or something to that extent and pushing it off to the side. So we have to look at the different locations around the world, whether it's on the East Coast of the United States, which generally looks like a U.S. government operation, or maybe the operation of another nation state that the United States is clearly has no defenses to deal with and no capability to shut it down. It's either that or it's the United States government doing whatever they're doing, but they're keeping the secret from the American people, creating a panic across the East Coast, if not the whole country. Now, we do have a lot of UFOs that are showing up over our military bases, like this great former military and police individual is bringing up. We have to look at that and say some of these things belong in the UFO bucket. Some of these things belong in the drone bucket, and not everything all falls into that. Let's all call it a drone, right, Mike?
No, you're absolutely right, Thomas. But like we pointed out on a previous show, they seem to be using the same textbook approach like they do with the UAP all these years
to cover it up.
To cover it up, tell the public they're imagining it. It's not what they think they're seeing. And they don't know what it is, which is the same approach with UAP. They're doing the same thing now with the drones.
One person could go ahead, or at least I could go ahead and call it the United States government as being...
Oh, a bullshit artist.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. We like using our clips from Mel Brooks movies as far as what the government says. Where'd it go?
We ain't found shit.
It's a great vocalization of how we feel using Americana.
Plus, we're big fans of those movies and the director, Mel Brooks. So we have to pay homage by playing those clips when appropriate. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. Let's jump in and play the rest of this. Again, we're just going ahead and interjecting, saying not all drones are drones. Let's go ahead and call some as drones, some as UAP UFOs. And I believe our audience resonates with that as well. So let's continue on.
Andrews Air Force Base recently had to shut down their airspace. They're in Nebraska, New York. The drones over Nebraska in 2019, what Officer Grooms is referring to, these are virtually identical in description and behavior to what is being reported now. So Chris, it leads to the question, why the disparity in decision making for shoot downs between what you had with the Chinese balloons and the drones? Both caused public alarm and concern. Why is the Biden administration now not reacting to these drones? You have a New Jersey mayor who said they hovered over his home with the same seriousness as they did with the Chinese balloons. Why the difference? And it's just it's negligent, in my opinion.
I just have to point out to that really quick at the end there, Mike. The only person with a tie was Matt. Apparently, they think that it's not necessary these days for news broadcasters not to wear a tie. I'd love to see Chris Cuomo in a hoodie.
Oh, well, if you've watched his podcast, he sometimes wears very casual clothing when he's at home.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it is. It's relatable to the audience.
I mean, heck, I broadcast from my first floor studio on a regular basis. So, yes, the hoodies are nice and comfortable. And when I wear flannel, my nose turns red because it's warmer. Gotta have fun with it. All right. Our audience has been going ahead, been very loud and vocal. Yes, too big for a tie, potentially. Ties should be illegal. I couldn't agree with it even more. Let's see what other kind of comments we have going here. Oh, wow. Was that B. Arthur? You better believe it, my friends. We also see nothing on the news and what's going on in America. Yeah, the whole drone thing has quieted down. And when we're having these things over the locations in the United States, the mass media never really covers this stuff. Now, getting on to our main story for tonight, let's go ahead and get this in here, shut this, at least one of our stories for tonight. We're talking about drones over. Let me bring this up here, get my stuff so I can go ahead and read through. Yeah, it's one of those things I'm going to have to read and get through it, but you know what? We're going to have a fun time, audience, and let me shut down that chat because I need to focus on bringing this up. And if you see my eyes darting around as those podcast goes on, I have a monitor here, I have a monitor here, and I have a 10-foot screen there. So I'm kind of watching all different aspects of the show as it goes on. So in our first story coming up to us tonight, coming to us from the Times in the United Kingdom, let me go ahead and see if I can get this up here. There we go. Drones over UK. Oh, that's not it. Yes, drones over United Kingdom's American air bases may be controlled by a hostile state. Yes, the unidentified drones use technology so sophisticated that the authorities and the military have been unable to track them, capture them, or identify those responsible. And we know that the drones have been going on over the United Kingdom, going on for longer than when they have been in the United States. But interesting enough, 2 COBRA meetings have been held in secret after unidentified drones were flown over military air bases involving technologies so sophisticated that authorities have been unable to track them or identify those who are responsible. Now, military officials have not ruled out the involvement of a hostile state like Russia or China, but have expressed alarm that is so far proved impossible to find the pilots responsible for controlling these drones. Now, the Times has learned that there have been at least 2 meetings of the COBRA, which is the Emergency Response Committee, over the mystery drones flying over American air bases in England. Just to be clear, these are UK military bases, like what we see here with Lakenheath, that are actually, if you want to call it, controlled by the United States. Military police troops, including members of the U.S. Navy and police with drone expertise, have been involved in investigating the incursions over RAF Lakenheath, RAF Mildenhall, RAF Fairford, and RAF Feltwell. Investigators believe that the drones were not programmed, but were controlled real-time by live operators. Now, as we heard from Elizondo recently, some of these more sophisticated drones, like the Americans' Reaper 35 that we have for our platform, they're actually not following commands from the ground, but they're actually following commands that are coming from satellites. So whatever's going on, we're definitely looking at something that it's from a major nation state. Now, the drones were flown around bases in late November and early December in various sizes and configurations, according to the U.S. military. The authorities have ruled out the work of hobbyists because of the sophistication of technology involved and because the flights were coordinated over a series of days. Now, just like in the United States, the drones that we have seen are not from hobbyists, are not from your average citizens, but the American government has decided not to go after the actual cause or result of these, but to put up drone restrictions to keep the American people out of the skies, to figure out what's actually going on. It's a true censorship that's happening of our rights in the United States. Now, the authorities have, okay, so let's move on. So, however, despite the advanced technology available at these military bases, they were unable to track the drone signals or to pinpoint launch locations. No drones have been captured, which have been allowed to which will allow their examination. And they were not affected by electronic countermeasures such as jamming. Now, Mike, this really points towards that we're dealing with drones that are being communicated with from satellites in the sky, not necessarily from people on the ground. Your thoughts?
Right, because when we were discussing this with Lou the other day on the show, he stated that a prosaic drone operates within line of sight. And if you have drones that are operating past the horizon, that's going to require a state actor that has the type of technology that would be able to communicate directly with these drones from not in a close by area. So, yeah, obviously there's more afoot here than meets the eye.
Yeah. If I could really quick, we haven't been asking a lot lately because I know that our audience is kind of toned down a little bit. But my friends, if you're out there, you're having a good time. This is a good time to go ahead and give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down. More importantly, if you haven't subscribed to Disclosure tonight, please subscribe to our program. We'd love to have you back here as a regular. We've been doing a smash-up job to try and bring out the truth to the people and also cut through the bullshit that's been coming through the mass media. So we'd love to have you here as a regular Disclosure tonight. We've more than doubled our subscribers in the past month, Mike, which means we must be doing something right.
Oh, we absolutely are, Thomas. I agree, and so does the audience, because they've been tuning in steadily the entire time to see everything that we've been bringing out. So, yeah, we're doing our job well, I believe.
Absolutely. We do have two friends in the United Kingdom with their hands up yet before we continue on. Let's go to Andy W. and then Lord McCormick. Andy, go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I find it really interesting that they've had these two Cobra meetings now. You know, Grey Jedi's been mentioned it in chat. You know, it's not a trivial matter that Cobra meets. It's members of the British government, senior Prime Minister and senior members of the cabinet. Basically, they only ever meet if there's potential natural disasters. Terrorist incidents, you know, the pandemic that we had.
Kind of like a national security risk, but in the United Kingdom, right?
Yeah. You know, they don't meet for tea and you know,
crumpets
and tea and crumpets and biscuits. Well, they probably have them, but that's British for you. You know, we're in the middle of a war and we're brewing.
Yes,
up,
but the tea must be hot and the biscuits must be dry.
Yeah.
So you dip them.
Yeah, so you know we've had it reported by Chris Sharp, our good friend, but you know, potentially the SAS and the SBS were dispatched to I'll use the word canvas to survey the area around Lakenheath and Milden Hall. Yeah, nobody's been arrested. No drones. I use the word drones in inverted commas. Have been recovered, you know, and the fact that they are holding Cobra meetings, you know, they're taking this extremely seriously, you know, especially I expect because they haven't found anything. Yeah, we still no idea at all where these things are coming from or going to or what their purpose is.
Yeah.
So,
but even if they did know, Andy, they had an idea. They're not releasing information, are they?
Yeah, there's certainly my part of the country. It's radio silence, and probably Lord McCormick will back me up on that when he comes to speak in a second.
It sounds like they're not willing to say yes. There are things coming in over our shores into our mainland that we have no ability to stop or control, which is truly a risk. Lord McCormick, you have your hand up, my friend.
Oh yeah. Andy, sorry, brother, I'm on the other side of the road with you on this one. Let me tell you why. I'm just looking at the headlines here. Drone WKs, American air bases, may be controlled by a hostile state. Now, I'm sure as you do, most of us do, we kind of track our mainstream media, even if we don't have any credence in it, we don't carry any weight with it. Anything that happens in this country at the moment, it's China or Russia. Simple as that. That's not a quote, it's a paraphrase. Anyone knows basic grammar. And this is, I wonder sometimes if, well, there's been some controversy in the UK with national media organisations using AI to write articles. I think this is with a Cobra meeting as well. We've had a few of them recently with some nasty events with people running around hurting each other in the name of God, if you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
And when they hold those Cobra meetings, it makes the news. You see them walking in to number 10. You know, there'll be Secretary of Defense or Home Secretary or this secretary, and you'll get a cut of them walking in, and it's a Cobra meeting, and there's been nothing. There's been nothing on the media. No, you might say, oh, it's Christmas, they don't want to put everyone on a downer. I just think this particular story, and I'm just talking on this particular story is just someone high in the DOD has contacted someone in the MOD and said, listen, say this because it'll help us out a bit. And I think that's that. I think these objects, and I'm sick of using the word drone, these objects, I call them objects because they're unidentified, that are blatantly in the skies over the UK and the States and increasingly around the world. The fact that come on, they can't track them. Come on, people. They don't know where they're coming from or going to. UK's not that big. So, you know, we've got, you know.
So you're calling out the same bullshit like we're calling out of the United States. We know where they're coming from. We know where they're going to. We know where they're going back to.
Is the UK's media, again, just trying to just tilt the table slightly. Oh, it's China. Oh, it's Russia. Just like they told us for the last 3.5 years that Russia's going to run out of missiles and Putin's going to, they're fighting with axes and shovels and things. Well, we all know in the real world they're eating up Ukraine like Pac-Man. So I just don't trust them, and I just think based on this one, I just think it's them just sucking on the US. You know what I mean? Just pulling weight.
Sucking on the tit of the United States of America again, you mean?
Bro.
I had to say it. Thank you. I appreciate that. James Smith, you have your hand up as well, my friend. You're new to the show. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. How are you doing tonight?
Doing wonderful. Thanks for joining us.
I'm going to just pick you guys' brains here. I've watched quite a few videos. Some of these orbs that are flying around the country on different cities, and then especially in South Jersey, these orbs are flying, and then you'll see these drones going to the orbs, and then something shoots out of the orbs, or they shoot something from the drones. It's almost like they're, I don't know, like investigating these drones or trying to stop the drones from moving around. I don't know if you guys noticed that or not.
I haven't seen any kind of drones, drone to drone or orb to drone warfare going on the East Coast of the United States, but you've probably watched some videos that I haven't seen, and I appreciate your insight on that, my friend.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. A good show.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Thanks for stopping in the back. Hang out in the back, and if you have any other questions or comments, please feel free to raise your hand during the broadcast.
Thank you, sir.
Awesome. Thank you. Now, if we get back to where we were just at, getting back into video, document, solo. All right, let's get into it. All right, a source from Whitehall has said they are very sophisticated, talking about the drones, very fast. This is not the work of hobbyists, but no confident attribution at the moment. Now, some nights at Lakenheath where they have decided to go ahead and house nuclear weapons, well, just guess what? Those facilities have just come to completion, where they were the facilities to house nuclear weapons, and dozens of drones were seen in the sky above this base. Now, British and American intelligence services conducted an intensive investigation that examined whether the GRU, which is Russia's military intelligence agency, was responsible. And I believe the GRU in the past may have been responsible for some poisonings of Russians who were in the country of the United Kingdom, and being able to go ahead and do what they needed to do without any kind of a pushback. Now, a U.S. intelligence source has said, quote, "It seems to us that it was plausible that the Russians were behind the flights, but it could have been non-state groups. There has been no firm evidence that Russians were involved. Leave it to the United States to go ahead and deny everything and not put the finger on what's really causing this problem." I think they're just trying to keep their fingers out of getting involved in a war with Russia. But if the Russians have done it, Call it out. Don't be afraid, my friends. Now, the first indication that spy flights might have been Russian-operated came during initial investigations into drone sightings between November 20th and 26th in the United Kingdom over 4 bases, including RAF Fairford and Gloucestershire, where 4 B-52 Stratoforce bombers were deployed as part of an American task force. Now, last month, European military sources said... Oh, let's get this on here. Military sources said there was an intelligence that GRU was involved. It sparked an alarm at all air bases and airports in the United Kingdom. So the United Kingdom is taking it seriously. What we could be dealing with here is clearly a Russian invasion going on in the skies over the United Kingdom. Now, the U.S. has warned that it reserved the right to defend its air bases, quote, to safeguard operational security. We do not discuss the specific protection measures. However, we retain a right to protect our installations. Now, the Times has previously reported, let's move on this one, that the RAF personnel were using Orcus counter-drone systems to help us protect U.S. assets at our bases. The system can electronically take command of an enemy drone and turn it on itself to find the operators. The system comprises of various parts that have come together to find, identify, and track drones. But just know that if these systems are based on interrupting the control of drones that are coming from the ground, not from the sky, as we talked about earlier. The Ninja, which is a negotiation of improvised non-state joint aerial threats, can identify targets up to 4 miles away, but none of those systems worked. Yet officials are still unclear about who is responsible in the United Kingdom for the incursions. The Ministry of Defense said, quote, we take threats seriously and maintain a robust measures at our defense sites. But again, it sounds like they're too locked into the comfort that the United Kingdom and the United States is getting from the military-industrial complex, saying, we're giving you the state-of-the-art, you're paying for state-of-the-art, but when it comes down to practice, none of these things are working. Well, there goes Google popping out one more time for YouTube. Let me get that back up and going again. So the mysterious drone activity in England stopped in the first week of December, but it was followed by a spate of activity seen over the eastern seaboard of the United States. Flying objects have been seen, as we know, against New Jersey, New York, Connecticut, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Maryland, even most recently into Virginia. John Kirby of the White House, who's a national security advisor, on Monday said that the drones were a combination of law enforcement, professional, and hobbyist aircraft, where we know where that answer goes, right down the toilet, because that clearly is not what happened. Let it go down the bin, my friends. Mike, your thoughts on this a compelling article coming to us from the Times in the United Kingdom?
Oh, I think that they're accurately describing exactly what's going on. Plus the fact that the military are trying to use standard anti-drone capabilities that are unable to detect these objects, and they're not able to block any signals to bring the drones down.
No, they're not, are they?
No, they're not. And the government obviously looks like it's trying to hide that little capability from the public. They don't want to talk about it. They don't want to be confronted by it. And if you remember the other day, we were talking about the drones in New Jersey and how there was a Coast Guard cutter that was pursued by those up to 30 some odd drones. The people that were on board the Coast Guard cutter, they have been speaking out publicly. I sent you a link in a DM on Twitter, and it's a New York Post short article that will speak about how these military members that were on that cutter, how they feel about the government's response
Do you want to give us a summary of that, Mike?
Well, it's a New York Times post. Just pull it up. The headline says it. Government is full of shit. And they don't know why the government is lying the way that it is, but they know for a fact that the government is absolutely lying about this. And
sorry, just X is really slow these days. Clearly, they're going beyond their bandwidth capabilities. When I try to bring a bunch of stuff up, it just it spins for a while. So I think this is the story you're talking about. Let me go ahead and find out document guest. Here we go. So Coast Guardman says the White House is making shit up after his vessel was tailed by a fleet of drones.
Correct. And at that point, they don't like the fact that the government is denying this. John Kirby was saying publicly that no such thing happened. They're all manned craft. And these members of the military that were dealing with this fleet of drones are pretty pissed off about it. Even they're saying their government is lying about this, just like we've been saying all along. So this seems to be corroborated by people who would know, who have been dealing with this from the government. Wouldn't you think, Thomas?
I would have to agree. It just stinks of a cover-up, Mike. It's something the government clearly knows what's going on. They're trying to discredit people in service to the American people and what they've been seeing, what's going on, trying to make up bullshit excuses to the mass media. But it's just one of those things where we just have to look at it and say, and call out people when they are clearly...
Oh, a bullshit artist.
A bullshit artist, my friend.
That's correct. So it means that everything that we've been reporting on and how the government has been going out of their way to hide and cover all of this up is now being corroborated by members of the military. They had enough. Yeah. Just like the public, just like us. Enough is enough.
Yeah.
So
we look at these different things, Mike, and we just have to take it with a grain of salt and know that our government on a lot of times and a lot of places is not telling us the truth. Even members of Congress. Remember, we were supposed to have a continuing resolution from our budget, and that turned out to be a document that was 1,500 pages long. And when it got down to a document that was 110 pages long, people, our elected officials all puked on it and said, oh, my God, we can't go ahead and approve that because all the pork we had and this isn't going to get there. What it comes down to is our government is covering up for itself, whether it's the legislator, whether it's the executive branch.
Exactly. And it doesn't seem, to be honest with you and our audience, that there's any end in sight anytime soon. It's going to continue. There's no reason for them to change the way that they have been not openly having a real conversation about this. They've been continuing to cover this up the entire time. And it seems like they're going to continue to cover this up until something major changes, and then they can't cover it up. But we'll have to wait and see what happens with that.
Talking about a cover-up and other things that are going on, there was a report on Twitter that came out and said alien invasion. Blue lights appear over the sea in New York City. Now, mysterious blue lights have been spotted in the skies above the sea near New York City, sparking speculation about an alien invasion. Witnesses reported seeing the lights move in ways that defy explanation. Let me go ahead and bring up this video here to go ahead and show with everybody about what they're seeing in the skies above New York. While it looks compelling and there could be something to this, this isn't the first time that we've seen lights like this in the past over New York, is it, Mike?
No, it absolutely is not. And the issue with that is I can't tell what exactly it is that we're looking at in this video. Can you, Thomas?
Well, in the video itself, they were looking at this blue in the sky that was going on. However, there's a lot of people going ahead and recording this. But the last time this took place 5 years ago, does that color look familiar to you? Familiar to you, Mike?
Yeah. That's an electrical explosion.
It's an electrical explosion from one of the substations that handles the power for New York.
Right. That's right.
So it's one of those things where we see activity from the sun, we see activity going on in the city. The first thing we want to do is call it out as aliens. And it's not that we're against aliens or bringing out the truth about aliens, but there's a lot of logical situations that apply to this that can help us figure out what we're actually seeing.
Right. No, you're right. So at this point, what we're seeing is people trying to fill in the blanks of all the bullshit coming out of the government. And when they see something that could be readily explained, like what we're looking at in this video, they I want to call it an alien invasion. So it seems like their imagination is getting the best of them, Thomas.
Well, it comes down to people see something, they want to get it out there on social media, they want to report it. They'll use a headline that really boosts it up to get the general public's attention on it. But again, when you see something, you can report it, but the most thing that you should do is literally to go ahead and actually do some research and figure out what's going on. Now, we do have some people in the back with their hands up. Let's go ahead and bring in Christian Morales, a longtime contributor to Disclosure tonight. Christian, go ahead.
How's it going, guys?
Pretty good. And yourself?
Hi, Christian.
Good. So I remember last week I was listening to you guys, and there was this guy. He said he was seeing these things in Minnesota, the state I'm in, and I was skeptical. And actually, my ex-girlfriend told me that she saw them too, and I was also skeptical until yesterday. I freaking saw these drones, and it's interesting because they don't look like normal like UFOs, right? Like they look like, I don't even know what they look like. They look like, it's hard to explain, but it's like they're all different looking. One had Christmas lights in the bottom, and these ones did not make noise. Unfortunately, my phone was dead, and it had nothing to do with me. It wasn't like my phone was dead before I saw them. It had nothing to do with me trying to take a video and the battery died. None of that. It was just dead before that. But so I couldn't take a video of that. I know I sent you 2 videos, Thomas, but the videos
you actually
don't
sent
do it
3.
justice.
This is one of the ones, and while this one is technically over a tree, this one is actually, your first one you sent is actually pretty decent because it gives a good overview of the craft that you're seeing over the skies of Minnesota.
Right. So yeah, this is not a New Jersey thing. Definitely not a New Jersey thing. It's exactly what everybody's been describing, and I don't know what they're up to, man, but they're spreading around 100%.
Right.
So just wanted to report on that.
Yeah, and what you brought up in your videos, as you were saying, I'm sorry, it's not playing with audio right now, but what you're saying is you're seeing these things in the sky, and you're used to seeing things in the sky like planes and other stuff, but these are making no sound whatsoever, correct?
Correct.
See if I got the
and
next.
They all look different. All of them are different looking, and it's weird. It's like they don't have. And the first ones that I saw, they were going like in a line, like following some sort of I don't know what they would
like a predetermined path, right?
Yeah, and then one of them ahead did break course, like it made a turn, kind of a weird turn, or it stopped. But it's not even worth talking about it because that's when my phone was dead. But yeah, I was really surprised to see these things up here, man. So yeah, let's see where this goes.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for calling in. Thanks for sharing the videos with us. I appreciate that, Christian. Let's go on to Laura Campbell. Laura, go ahead. Yeah, you have your hand up.
Yeah, I would just my comment and what I'm noticing. I don't know if you've been talking to a lot of people out there, but I would say that there's a lot of resistance to any of this information. Human nature, we don't want change that's fear-based, but there's also like a cockiness of, oh, I know, these drones, they're nothing to worry about. They're just ours, blah, blah, blah. We've got a big road ahead because a lot of us in this group know what's coming down the road because we stay informed and we have the people, it's an awareness. How do we deal with this? I was just reading this article, monkeys they found, they did a study a couple years ago. They said they're more flexible in changing to different strategies when it comes to tests of cognitive flexibility. Primates are better than humans are. And then we have the added burden of the news sources, the big national, main news misinforming the public, the government's misinforming the public. You have to actively work to find out the truth. average people don't want to do that. It takes effort. It takes an interest in it, or a personal experience like Christian just had of being skeptical, which is great. It's good to be skeptical, but then they're having the experience and saying, well, now what's going on with that? So we need sources of people to help disseminate the information more than we're doing, because what's coming down in the next few months and the next few years, people are going to be freaked out.
Yeah.
That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you, Laura. I appreciate that. You bring really great points forward. Yes, we do need sources. We do need people to bring forward the information. And that's what we've been seeing on X, on TikTok, on YouTube, and other platforms of people trying to go ahead and bring out the truth. Now, Ed Brown, you have your hand up, my friend. Go ahead.
I do, Thomas. There's actually three things I wanted to mention. The first one, dealing with those blue lights in the sky in New York. You know, you say, well, it could be an explosion like it was in the previous one. But the other way to look at it is maybe the source is all this electricity being discharged into the atmosphere, ionizing it and causing it to turn blue. Maybe the craft themselves are producing that same effect because of their propulsion system or something else that's producing that color. So it could be basically the same thing. It's just electricity being discharged into the atmosphere.
Right.
The second thing that I think we need to just follow this is with this news about the nukes being stored in the UK now, follow it and see if there's an uptick in sightings because of that. Because as many people have said, and Lewis emphasized this in his book, is they like to visit our nuclear facilities and our nuclear storage areas. So let's see if they go there. And the third point kind of alludes to some of the stuff Laura was talking about. It's of how this keeps changing and people are kind of getting numb to it and everything. Is that by intention, do you think, or is that by accident? In other words, we've always sort of assumed that these extraterrestrial UTs, NHI type people are trying to give us signals. Well, they're changing the story every day. It seems like it's a new story.
Well, I think what we've had going on in the media has been just because there's been so many sightings, so many things going on in the sky. And as this is kind of dying down in the public sphere, the media itself has started covering it less because there's less sightings, less people talking about it. So, yeah, there was definitely a wave, almost like a tidal wave of interest that came out of the drones. But now that it's waning at this point, I think there are a lot more people who have their eyes to the sky, looking to the media, looking to broadcasts like Disclosure tonight, where we strive not just to go ahead and replay and go along with the media, but to go ahead and try and figure out what's in between and bring out the truth.
Well, we talked about this the other day too, but they're tied together. The more people look up in the sky, the more reports there are of sightings, which means more news coverage, which means more people looking up in the sky. But if that enthusiasm wears off, people get tired of that and they don't look up anymore, all of a sudden the sightings go down. That does not necessarily mean that the objects in the sky are fewer. It just means fewer people are reporting them.
That's true. I appreciate your insight on that, Brett. Ed. I completely agree with you. You bring some really great common sense views on this, and I appreciate you being here.
Good to be here, Thomas.
Awesome. Thank you. TBT, last person with their hand up before we continue on. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just want to make a comment on what Laura said about being like scared. I think what we need to do is kind of stay between, stay in our own lane right now and not jump to conclusions and just kind of see what happens next. I mean, things really haven't happened yet, but I think it's becoming status quo that we're seeing these things in the skies, and we don't need to be complacent. I mean, it's not Santa Claus dropping off Christmas presents.
Oh, hell no.
They're up there for some reason that we don't know yet, and that is what I'm concerned about. So,
yeah. What is it? What are the nefarious activities they're up to? Now, our government has come out and said many times that these aren't a national security risk. There's nothing to fear. Now we've got our government going ahead and bringing out all these different types of technology to try and shut it down. We have the FAA enacting close to 60 new no-fly zones over the East Coast. If there was nothing to worry about, why all the action to try and shut things down, except to shut down the American people from putting up their own technology to figure out what's flying overhead? Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that, my friend. Now, getting on back to our next story for what we were just talking about, Ryan Graves over at Americans for Space Safe Aerospace over at Twitter had said that ex-NORAD General Van Herk, quote, "We're only 1 year past Langley drone incursions and almost 2 years past the People's Republic of China spy balloon. Why don't we have a single point of contact who is responsible for coordination across all organizations in the government to address this, instead of everybody pointing their fingers at each other saying it's not our responsibility?" Wow, those are some strong words, and I have to say words that I completely agree with. If we can, we've got Lord McCormick with your hand up, my friend. Go ahead.
Oh yeah, just briefly on the Coast Guard thing. I'm really glad that, that for me, when the sort of the official rebuke of the Coast Guard, what they said, original claim, when the rebuke came out, and they said, "Oh no, it's just it's a load of planes on a holding pattern that come into." I think, well, Corporal Abe's in the house, and he knows that sort of like the Coast Guard are, I believe, are a branch of the military, and if not, they're as close as a branch of the military, and they're highly trained observers. So it's so disrespectful that they talk and treat, and not just that, the emergency service guys, PD, county sheriffs, and we've got a different system in the UK, but you know, I think they are trained observers, and we're meant to believe them if any incident occurs on the street, or you know, if the Coast Guard is sent out to, they observe, they re-observe, and they re-observe, and it's just a joke that they put that on them and try to mug them off like that and mug us off like we were just talking about before. And I'm really glad, and I hope the guy that said that they're talking shit actually keeps his foot on the neck, comes out, and we get to find out who he is, because I think we get a lot of backing for people. I just want to speak on that. Thanks a lot, guys.
Can you see how we've got the things going in the United Kingdom, how it is different from what's going on in America? There's just different actors at play, potentially based on the technology, what's going on. Similar construct, meaning we've got drones coming in that we're unable to go ahead and detect and go ahead and eliminate. It honestly sounds like some foreign governments out there have made a technological breakthrough that what the military-industrial complex has sold to our government, saying this is the state-of-the-art technology to bring these stuff down, but the shit just doesn't work.
No, I think the mask is, they just can't keep it up. Years ago, you know, when the War of the Worlds reference, for an example, I think that was motivated by the radio show.
Yeah.
And people then had, you know, it was round the wireless. Dad would sit around the wireless in the evening, and, you know, way before TV, or it'd be, your news was 2 days late, and it came in printed press. Now, everything's instantaneous. Everyone's carrying the majority of people in the world are carrying a recording device in their pocket. And I just think that their shit isn't going to watch anymore. And I think that the clock's ticking. We'll see, man. This isn't going to stop.
No. I think it's going to keep on escalating until we get to the bottom of this. And you've got the situation in the UK. We've got the situation on the East Coast. We have the situation going at multiple military bases in the central and western United States. You know, it's just a matter of keeping our eyes to the sky, continuing to look up, and more importantly, push for the truth. Now, if we can...
100%.
Andy W., you
tip
have
of the sword. Don't stop. Don't stop, Thomas. You're the tip of the sword. Saves this community. Amazing work.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Andy W., you have your hand up, my friend. Go ahead.
Yeah, I find it quite interesting, actually. You know, all what's been going on the east coast of the US. We've got what's going on here. We've got what's going on in the east coast of the US, and then we've got what's going on the west coast. It seems to me the objects that are being reported here over the US bases here tend to be more like what's happening on the west coast of the state. So,
well, it comes down to.
Okay, sorry about that. Lord McCormick had some audio going in the background that I've shut down. Go ahead.
Yeah, it seems to me more like you know, what's going over here in the UK. LAKENHEATH and all of that, you know, the reports of the objects that are being sighted seem to be more like the reports of the objects that are sighted on the west coast of the states. Yeah. It seems, it seems the East Coast is sandwiched in the middle of are they three separate incidents of things that are going on? It's just, I don't hold potentially with these being Russian. They may well be. I've not seen the objects up, with my own eyes. I've only seen what you guys have seen on the footage in the UK. We talked how many times in the past we've talked about, the East Coast of USA sightings versus the West Coast. When you get out to Catalina Island, it just seems to be a spread of different things that are happening all at once.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more, Andy. But there's, at least from my position, there was I got dogs going crazy here. A clear separation of what's happening on the East Coast of the United States, what's happening over in the United Kingdom, what we've got going in different areas. There's different things happening. I think what we have going in more of the homeland in the United States, in the central and western United States, that's pointing out to be potentially more like good old UFOs. On the East Coast, that's either the United States government or a foreign actor. In the United Kingdom, it's clearly what they've been seeing as yet more foreign actors going on. So not necessarily the United States or United Kingdom government, but someone like the GRU, which is Russia's version of the CIA and their intelligence unit. Now, Corporal Abe, you have your hand up from the great country of Taiwan. Thailand. Thank you for coming in. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, good evening, happy holidays, everybody out there. I was up pretty late because I found an article and I had a conversation with our friend Hollywood Harold. Last night, there was yesterday, there was a drone incursion here in Thailand, and they responded by launching 2 F-16s. There's very little information. I don't want to speak on behalf of Thailand. There's specific rules about that. All I have is just the basic details. F-16s.
So were the F-16s launched from the United States presence in Thailand, or is it coming in from Thailand itself or PRC?
Unfortunately, the news article didn't really mention who the F-16s belonged to. It said that there were 2 F-16s that were launched from Thailand. I put the article in the back chat if you want to review it. But yeah, basic information. F-16s take off from Thailand, chase. They tried to intercept the drone, but the drone disappeared by the time they got to the north of Thailand to intercept it. So we are seeing something here in Thailand. I don't want to speak for them. I want to make sure that's clear to anybody that's from this area. I'm not speaking for your country, but I did notice this in an article.
Interesting, very much. I appreciate you bringing that. Yeah, so these things are definitely peaking up worldwide, if not the attention of what's going on. Our governments around the world are more likely to go ahead and stop these incursions rather than like the United States government going ahead and looking the other way, which seems like over a month at this point in time. Now, if we get into our next story coming into us from Wall Street Apes over on Twitter, I think this is a good one, my friends. Let me go ahead and bring this one up. The Biden administration is potentially trying to use the drone situation to pass a bill giving the government wireless surveillance access to our phones. Before I get into it and start talking about it, we have Senator Rand Paul going ahead and talking about this. Let's see what Mr. Paul has to say. Let's get this up a little bit, and let's go ahead and play this short clip of Rand Paul in front of our Congress. Here we go.
The bill before us would grant law enforcement significant authority to intercept private electronic communications without consent. For example, the bill would allow the government to conduct dragnet surveillance of the phones innocent Americans traveling through U.S. airports as long as the government claims they are doing it to neutralize a drone. So in order to look at the information that might be coming to a drone, it may be that you capture all the information of everybody surrounding an airport or everybody who lives near an airport. Once you have all that data, what are the assurances that the government isn't looking at your data in addition to the data that may be related to flying the drone? This is not just about security. It's about unchecked government overreach. It's about capitalizing on fear and media-driven hysteria to jam through sweeping legislation that could violate the civil liberties of American people. Congress has a constitutional responsibility to serve as a check on the executive power, not as a rubber stamp for it. The federal government already has the power to deal with drones. The federal government already has the power to stop any drones that are in airspace around airports. The federal government already has the power to protect its air bases. So if there is a significant problem here, the Biden administration needs to come forward and let us know, who are these drones? Who's operating these drones? What is the federal government doing to protect either airports or bases from this? Instead, we are told by the Biden administration there is no threat to our national security. So let's first insist on truth and transparency from the Biden administration before offering up legislation that is feel good, pat somebody on the back and say, oh, we've done something about drones. We are strong on drones. Congress has a constitutional responsibility to serve as a check on executive power, not as a rubber stamp. We owe it to the American people to demand compelling justification, meaningful safeguards, and full transparency before granting any new surveillance authorities. We are a nation of laws, not fear, not panic, and not manufactured urgency. We do not trade away our freedoms, our privacy, and our constitutional protections for vague promises of security. I will object to this bill today, but I am open to talking with the authors of this bill about how we could have enhanced ability to interrupt drone activity, but done while protecting all Americans' constitutional right to privacy. Madam President, I object.
All right. Interesting note on that. I want to go ahead and just talk about this one for a second. This bill was actually put forward as a standalone piece of legislation from the head of the Senate, Senator Chuck Schumer, but it was shut down and it didn't have enough votes to get passed. Mike, your thoughts on this one? It sounds like a major overreach from the American, from the Biden administration and the Democrats. Do you think this is something that could have been a planned part of this drone incursion that's been happening on the East Coast, or is this something that's just a matter of coincidence?
I don't think it's directly connected to the drone incursion, and I'll tell you why. Because when we had the 9/11 incident, which was a horrible time for American history, the U.S. government decided to institute the Patriot Act.
Yeah.
Now, I remember very well how they were approaching the general public with that proposed legislation. And one of the first statements that they had made at that time is they were guaranteeing everyone in the public that any of the information that the government would have access to of the public's internet activity, cell phone activity, anything that would be covered under the Patriot Act, they wanted to assure the general public that it was only for foreign adversaries and terrorist cells that might be operating here within the continental U.S., and that by no means would they be targeting any U.S. citizen, and they're not looking into any type of criminal activity or personal information gathering. They guaranteed everybody that if that act were to pass, they would not be a target.
But
meanwhile,
really quick, wasn't the Patriot Act another one of those 1,500-page documents or something they actually had to wheel out on a cart to get approved, and nobody had the ability to actually read this thing before they brought it in to sign it or to approve it?
Standard operating procedure within the Congress for many, many decades is that when they have a large bill or legislation that's like an encyclopedia, they usually don't read it. They have their staff members skim through it, and then they sign off yay or nay based on whatever deals they made behind closed doors. That's how D.C. operates.
Yeah.
And this was no different with the Patriot Act. But my point is that the government had lied to the American people back then about what exactly was going to be done with the passing of the Patriot Act. And then when Edward Snowden had come out in 2013, and he had exposed everything that they were doing to the general public, that tells you that they take whatever opportunity presents itself to try to get as much overreach on power over the citizens of this country as they can, which is why I don't believe that these drones are directly connected with this legislation.
Right. Great points, my friend. And looking at what's been going on, you know, we have the new Department of Government Efficiency DOG that's being headed up by Elon Musk and Vivek Ramsey, a former person who was running for the presidential office earlier in the year. You know, it almost needs to be called DOG, Department of Government Accountability, because when we had this new legislation to come forward, at least for the budget, that was 1,500 pages long. They got a whiff of what's in it, and they put it out to the American people. And the American people, yes, Mocha, pushed back, and they weren't going to stand for that shit, were they? And if we had this same kind of Department of Government Accountability, I don't think the Patriot Act would ever have passed.
If people had a clue as to what their true intent was and what they were going to do, once that act was passed, nobody would have signed off on that. Yeah. No way.
Yes.
But now we live in the 21st century where everybody is connected. Everybody's on a social media platform. We have information that is 24/7 available. People are more informed. So it's harder to get away with shit like this like they did back then.
Yeah. Oh, you better believe it, my friend. Now, turning our sights back on Twitter one more time. Interesting piece coming up here. We have coming from a person called UFO Mania. That should tell you how real this is, saying recorded over Lake Michigan, Chicago. So if it was recorded over Lake Michigan in Chicago, first thing I want to point out is, look, there are trees in this picture that have leaves on them. And as far as I know, on December 21st, 2024 at this point, not one tree that is a deciduous tree would actually have, if you want to call it,
any
leaves on them at this time of the year. Now, if I make sure the audio is off and I zoom in, or go ahead and play this, there's going to be a person who's walking here who's got a jacket on, and they also have on either a pair of shorts or a skirt, and they've got bare-legged, if you want to call it, legs out. This would not be going on. And while we're seeing a bunch of different things in the sky that could look like drones, what we're really looking at here potentially is the traffic coming in from Chicago O'Hare Airport over Lake Michigan. Again, not that we're trying to take UAP sightings and call them as something else. The reality of the issue is there are a lot of flights coming in that part of the country on a regular basis. More importantly, here is a recent picture that we had actually coming in 23 hours ago at 11:07 p.m. on December 19th, 2 days ago over Chicago. Multicolored flashing orbs hovering in formation. It was overcast and snowing. We did not expect to see something, but again, these could be planes coming in for Chicago's O'Hare Airport. Now, we do have someone in the back with their hand up. Andy, go ahead, my friend.
Yeah, I just want to make a comment on this. Yeah, coming from somebody who's actually seen a triangle, yeah, this was a triangle that was directly overhead. It was your typical three white lights with the red central. But I just want to say, bringing up this photo, I was fishing in a very dark beach in the UK many years ago, and I saw what I thought was another triangle coming over, and I was watching these lights come over for quite a long time. And as they got closer over me, it was middle of the night. It was pitch dark. It was three planes. So the perspective that I was seeing them at originally, they looked like a perfect triangle of three white lights. As they came closer, and then sort of to go overhead, high overhead. Yeah. So you really need to be aware that a lot of what you see is dependent on the actual angle that you see these lights. And potentially this image that you just put up shows that very, very well.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you, Andy. It's just some things, we'll see stuff in the sky, but we'll see a lot of little 20-second, 30-second clips. But what you're saying is stay there, hang out, see what's going on. More importantly, take a video clip that's longer than that can help you understand, because, you know, some of the times we've seen some UFOs that, or of these drones that have seen in the sky off in the distance. When it's out of focus, they try to get it in there, and they're showing it's showing like an orb. But then as it gets closer and it gets brought into focus, then all of a sudden you can start seeing the other lights on the other side of the craft show up. And this isn't a orb that's turning into a plane. What you're seeing is a limitation of the cell phone technology that a lot of people have in their hands, right, Andy?
Yeah, and we see people film these things for 10, 20 seconds. You know, if you've got eyes on these things for as long as, you know, you film them as long as you can see them. You know, there are some that you're never ever going to work out what they are, whether they're erroneous or they've got a you know, prosaic explanation, but it will give you a really good chance of actually, am I seeing a genuine orb or a genuine triangle or not?
Right. And it's just a matter of looking at some of the stuff that's going on and everything that's happening. And most importantly, if you're looking at a drone in the sky, something you think is a drone, if you have a laser and you want to interact with that UAP that you think is a UAP, don't do it. Because in a lot of cases, what you're actually screwing with, you're actually going ahead and potentially, where's this at? Document guest. You're actually potentially blinding a pilot in the sky. Let's go ahead and play this video clip coming from a pilot over, I believe this is over, not sure where, but someone was definitely pointing a green laser at a flight in the sky. And, you know, granted, we're seeing this going ahead and having someone from this point pointed at the plane, and it's getting hit by one of the passengers. But there have been reports of many, if you want to call it, pilots getting blinded in the United States recently because people think it's a UFO. They're going ahead and pointing their green laser at it. But the reality of it is, they could be blinding someone who's in the charge of protecting hundreds of people.
I must say, from a personal point of view, I'm really against this practice. I think it's completely stupid. Like you say, you really don't know whether you are actually signaling an orb or you know, a potential alien. You know, it's really dangerous. These things are these lasers are far more powerful than a lot of people realize. They might only be the size of a pen you put in your pocket.
They're about the size of this. I got one buried here underneath my desk somewhere, but it's about this size. And, you know, we think we're going at it and pointing it at the UFOs, trying to see if they're going to react. But in this particular case, clearly not a UFO. Don't point your laser pointers at these things. Don't shoot at them with your guns, because there's a good chance you're going after humans, not what you think it is.
And they're liable to get done. They're liable to get, you know, found who it is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I strongly advise people don't do it.
Yeah. Absolutely, absolutely. Mike, your thoughts on this one as I get ready for the next story?
About the drones that seem to be in different locations that we were just talking about?
Shooting lasers at something you think is a drone when it's actually a commercial airliner.
Oh, yeah, that's true. Until you can positively identify it as being something anomalous, you shouldn't take any action. Besides, if you do, we've already spoke about this, it's illegal.
Yeah.
And you face criminal charges. So if you don't want to have to hire an attorney and get bail, then yeah, I don't think anybody in the public should be taking any type of aggressive action towards any object up in the sky if they're not looking to have serious issues.
Could you put up?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. Now, in this next clip I've got up, changing directions a little bit, former staff member from the Senate Service Committee, I believe that would be our dear friend, where's it at? Well, is McCulloch? Who's the guy who you have permission to play the video on tonight, Mike?
This is coming from the.
No, not that one, but who's the person? I've got a different clip from yesterday's podcast.
From the Psychoactivo podcast?
Well, not that one, but it's the same person. Whose name I can't remember.
Kirk McConnell.
Kirk McConnell, thank you. I've got a question here coming from Kirk McConnell, coming from James Fox, who's a documentarian who recently brought out the show called The Program. Let's go ahead and play this quick clip coming from James Fox Twitter account, talking with Mr. McConnell. Let me go ahead and bring this one up. Document, guest, solo. Here we go, friends. Let's play this clip and see where it takes us. Here we go.
Could you put us in the room with a firsthand witness and describe what it felt like and what the expressions of other potential senators that may have been there, again, no names, what it was like to listen from a potentially firsthand witness? Can you put us in the room and tell us what the atmosphere felt like?
Well, James, I don't think in a way that it's very hard to imagine. It's certainly I speak to myself. What was going through my mind is shock and kind of reeling. It's a tough thing to get your mind around, and to be confronted with it, coming from another person whom you find credible based on their credentials and their clearances and their background and all that. It certainly it makes it hard to go to sleep at night, for a good while.
What did the senators, did they have a sort of slack-jawed appearance as well, or was it just?
No, I mean, I don't think any of us fell on the floor, in anguish.
Really quick point I want to go ahead and bring on this one, if I can. Majority of the time when there are witnesses who are going ahead and testifying in front of the Senate or testifying in front of the House, none of the senators are ever there. It's just their staffers are there, the lawyers are there, but the senators never find the time in their calendar to go ahead and show up, which is a true disservice to the American people. What are your thoughts on that, Mike?
No, you're right. There has been, well, we've talked about this before. As far as Congress, one of the reasons that they do that usually is because if the representatives themselves are not in the room, then they have plausible deniability for any backlash that could come from this type of testimony. They're basically shielding themselves politically, like we saw with Kirsten Gillibrand, who, when she was dealing with her, if you remember, with her constituents to get reelected.
Back in New York, and she was out there in the summer meeting with it. She was cracking jokes about David Grush coming forward.
That's correct. And it seems that that is the approach that most of these politicians in Congress usually take. So it's no surprise to me at this point.
Absolutely. Let me go ahead and continue on with this clip. Here we go, folks. And I thank you for your insight on that, Mike. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure.
Or anything.
Good cop, bad cop, Bill.
Yes, sir.
But it was very serious and very sobering. And there was, just rapt attention to what was being said and trying to absorb it. They would take this information on board.
Did you get the impression that these individuals were scared?
Well, it varied. Certainly in some instances, some people, there was real fear. Yes, there was real.
I guess if it's real fear, you just have to look into it. And one of the most important things I can say to our audience, never run with fear. Take all the information you get coming in, listen to it, take it and internalize it. But Mike, if our audience or the general public gets to the point of reacting in fear, they're not going to have a control over what they're doing and how they're acting and what's going on. That's why it's best to have your eyes open, look up, see what's going on, but don't get afraid, right, Mike?
Oh, absolutely, Thomas. No, you're absolutely right, because if you're in fear and you panic, you're not in control. You can't make proper informed decisions. Your judgment is impaired. And you're also going to lose the experience because your body is in fight or flight mode. And you're trying to shut it down to avoid as much of the trauma that you feel you're experiencing due to your fear. So no, if you really want to understand things, just look at it as far as data and what you're seeing. And
this is NBC Nightly News with
Sorry.
Lester.
I don't want to play that. Sorry, go ahead, Mike.
No. What I was saying, it's okay. What I was saying is that if you really want to get a better understanding of what it is that you're experiencing, panicking and putting your head in the sand or running away isn't going to provide those answers. You need to remain cool, calm, collected, and just focus on what it is that you're observing. That's it. That's the simple answer. It doesn't get any simpler than that.
Oh, you better believe it, my friend. I appreciate your insight and your calming voice to help everybody get there. But that's one of the biggest thing is don't be afraid, folks. You see things in the sky, analyze it, take the information down. Don't let it get into you, because if you get to that point of being in fear, you're not going to be able to make the right decisions to protect yourself and your family. Now, talking about trying to protect a lot of people, Mike, I've got a tweet here from Ivan Hanel, who is the former attorney for Elizondo, and I think this is a really great conversation to bring forward if I can. Now, let me start with this. Ivan Hanel says, many in ufology believe that most or all members of Congress are intentionally obscurant about UAP, associated legislation, and so on. On December 20th, on Matt Laszlo's, let me get this up here, make sure you guys can still see it. Oh, God, too big. Oh, not too small. Let me get in there again. How did that happen? What's going on? Oh, we'll get there in 1 second. Yeah, all right. Let's get this here. Many ufology believe, okay, let's go on December 20th, Matt Laszlo's Ask a Poll spoke briefly with White House Armed Services Committee ranking member Adam Smith. And he said that he did not recall what UAP stands for or what the UAPDA is. Oh my gosh. Representative Smith's seemingly honest response begs two questions. First, is the near ideology of conspiracy held by some in ufology and broad alleged against the government is panning out for us? If Representative Smith is where he is, should we reframe ufology as a movement of curiosity rather than bashing everyone right, left, and center as co-conspirators in a deceptive scheme? Second, what sort of people within ufology are best positioned to communicate and lobby lawmakers? Effective lobbyists share a lot of characteristics with good salespeople. They listen far more than they talk. They ask about you. They don't speak in absolutes. They address both sides respectively. Who does and does not that sound like? Something to think about. I think someone, Mike, who this really aligns with is our dear friend, Lou Elizondo. What do you think?
Oh, I couldn't agree with you more. I think Laszlo described him to a T. He would be well suited, like we talked about on yesterday's show, to fill a role in the upcoming administration like that. And I think if he was in a position as, let's say, a UAP czar and was dealing with the public on behalf of the government, he's very personable. He'd be able to communicate very, very well, like he usually does. So, I think Laszlo might be talking about him.
Really quick, coming from Andrew Hessing, who gave us a super chat. Extraordinary information with an interview released earlier today on the YouTube channel Redacted with John D'Souza. John D'Souza is someone who you want to go ahead and align with Stephen Greer, someone who doesn't have the best pedigree in bringing information out. John D'Souza has gone out there many times and disparaged Lou Elizondo, David Grush, and other people within Disclosures. So if you want to listen to John D'Souza, Redacted will bring anybody on. John D'Souza is not the person you want to be listening to, right, Mike?
He's not credible. If you listen to the information with common sense, you immediately discount a lot of what it is that he's been saying, specifically out of the Dr. Stephen Greer camp.
Yeah.
But listen, if members of our audience want to follow information like that, it's certainly up to them. We're just advising that your time might be better served looking at factual information.
Yeah. That's one of those situations, Mike, as we're getting through. We want to look at the situation and what's going on and take a very close eye at what's going on. If you look at this, you know what? We have 1,059 viewers watching on this show right now, actually, and only 431 likes. Do us a favor, friends. If you're having a good time, you're enjoying Disclosures tonight, give us a thumbs up or a thumbs down now. Take this little moment to give back to the broadcast that we've been giving to you. More importantly, if you're new to Disclosure tonight, you haven't subscribed to you haven't subscribed to the podcast, we'd love to have you here as a regular on the show. This is the only way we can go ahead and grow the show and tell YouTube to say, yes, what we're saying is correct, and to go ahead and share this with more people, right, Mike? What's our double your money back guarantee?
Yes. Well, look, if everybody is enjoying the content and the reporting that you and I do every night, then to hit the like and subscribe button is free. It doesn't cost anything. But if you're not happy with subscribing and what we bring to you, we'll give you a double your money back guarantee. So it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Absolutely. No, Mike, we do have a couple friends in the back with their hands up. We got Bruce and then Ed and Lord McCormick. First you, Bruce. Go ahead, my friend.
Hey, Thomas. Something that you said, I guess, half an hour ago, and Laura sort of kicked in on this a little bit, which it's been doing my head in for God knows how long, but I'll just tell you what it is. You cautioned everyone so correctly about the need to not join the dots, right, with regard to sightings in the sky that are always aliens until proven otherwise. Laura raised the issue of how the hell are people going to be prepared for this when you've got two different camps determining their own perception of their reality versus what's actually happening. And I was thinking about that, and Laura, the bad news is it's just going to be the way it is. There's no question. It doesn't matter what happens, because I figure that, if ET turns up at some point and produces a passport, a whole range of IDs, and says, look, I'm from this particular city on a star system in the Orion constellation, a third of America are going to be divided whether or not he's an angel or a demon. And you know where I'm coming from. And then you've got what Thomas was saying, the dot joining. I mean, God, that goes back millennia. You've got 4,200 religions, which are largely a result of dot joining. You've got, and this is no disrespect to religious people, I'm just an evidence-based guy until the evidence takes me somewhere, and I look at the three wise men saw a star that gave them a sign, and we all know where that went. The trouble is it turned out to be a comet. We have the flat Earth. We have the faces on Mars. We have Santa friggin' Claus, which is an absolute reality for everyone on the planet.
But if you're going to bring up Santa, you can't forget the Easter Bunny.
Well, yeah, there is that. I mean, that's a whole new game.
And that's for people who believe, right?
Yes. We have, in scientific circles, we had the static universe theory until we discovered that it was expanding at an exponential rate. We have the faces on Mars. We have David Copperfield. We have levitation. We have everything that a magician does. And they make gazillions out of vulnerable human beings every day for exactly the same reason that every time someone looks up and sees a drone or a seagull or a sparrow or God knows what, a bit of dirt in the sky, it's a friggin' alien, you know? It's just like, I just wanted to sort of bring that up because well-established UFO channels, this is a classic, right? A few days ago, I saw this YouTube channel talking about UFOs, and they showed what they claimed to be a helicopter chasing unsuccessfully a couple of orbs.
All right. You know what? I actually addressed this in some of the comments where some people brought this up, comments for our broadcast when it went on. You know, I've seen orbs flying in front of my house on a regular basis. Not once have I seen military helicopters going along with it. And if that's the standard, why am I not seeing it here and they're seeing it in other places? Right, Bruce?
Yeah, it was just a classic. I mean, clearly they were all Black Hawks, you know, and the front two would have had their nav lights off and left their anti-collision lights on, which gave the bright appearance and the almost revolving strobe effect. And you know why? It's because the rear helicopter would get blinded by the nav light if they were left on. So it's just a normal procedure.
Yeah. We appreciate that, Bruce, but we have other hands that are up right here. So
sorry, Mike. Yeah, all good.
Appreciate the commentary, my friend.
Ed Brown, go ahead.
Well, I'd start out by saying I think Bruce tried to answer the question we've all asked all this time, and that is, what is the total meaning of life? We've covered a lot in that one. I'm playing catch up from earlier. The couple of things I wanted to comment on. The first one, we were talking about staff members at Congress, and there was kind of a negative idea that the staff members will take a briefing when you don't have time, but the congressman or senator does not have time to meet with you. But there's a good side of that too. And the good side of that is they bring continuity, you know, like Kirk that had worked in the government for 30, 40 years, you know, in staffing positions. They know kind of what's going on and they bring some continuity, and we should utilize them the best we can. And they also are the ones that have the ear of the representative and or senator too. So that's kind of a good thing. The second thing I wanted to comment on was the fear topic that came up a minute ago, and everyone's kind of the hoorah, you know, we're like the military, let's not be afraid, let's charge into battle. Been there, done that myself. But there's certain times when fear applies, and I'll give you what I think is a perfect example. Not knowing what we know, if someone pulls up in a black car in front of my house and two men in black suits come out and they're wearing dark glasses and they tell me what to do, I'm going to salute, yes sir, I'll do what you want me to do. I'm not going to argue with the men in black. You look at some of the threats that have been given, you know, to like all the way back to Roswell. Those people kept quiet for 50, 60, 70 years. Now, why is that? Because they were afraid if they said a word, their family was going to get killed. So there could be some real fear out there in this topic. You know, you have to discern that.
Yeah.
And I think I'm caught up with all the things I wanted to.
You know, there are a lot of threats from the government that could potentially be out there. I remember hearing about this back in within a month after the Tic Tac incident happened, right just out in my garage, just 15 feet from where I'm sitting right now. And the threats that were given to the military people and the Navy with respect to the sighting that they had and what they dealt with. And if they brought any of this out, their retirement, which they're counting on for the, you know, from getting out of the military, could be completely shut down and removed if they brought out the truth about what they were seeing. So there's a lot of threats that come out from our government, from parts of our government that we don't understand, but they're there and they try to keep the truth from coming out to the public. If we could, Lord McCormick, you have your hand up, my friend.
Yeah, hi guys. Bruce made some interesting points that I'd certainly love to, at some point in the future, to debate with him. No offense, Bruce, and there were actually some very valid points you made in there concerning human history and how we kind of, just interesting. But I just wanted to point out that, as I said to you in the back room earlier, I've been looking into New Jersey a bit. This was prompted by someone online that had said that they believe New Jersey would be a possible sort of like a point of disclosure if it was with a big D, a forced disclosure. And I didn't know this, that actually New Jersey and the surrounding area is the most populated area of the continental United States. And I didn't know that. But there's a couple of things you might want to look into, and this is to everybody. And I'm trying not going to murder this. Wanakee Reservoir, WANAQUE Reservoir. Now, then you can look at the Wanakee Vortex, and you can also look at the Wanakee Wonder. Now, this, you're thinking, what's the relevance to what we're talking about at the moment, McCormick? It's these events happened 60 years ago. Wanakee Reservoir is right next to the armory. Is it Picatinny Armory?
Arsenal, yeah.
Arsenal, sorry, yeah, the Picatinny Arsenal.
Yeah.
So, guys, look into that, because it's an amazing story that goes back 60 years. Objects were seen. It became a national thing in the States. But is it connected? Possibly, maybe. If you look at some of the, if you look and read at some of the witness reports and the police reports at the time, because this was a spate of sightings all around this reservoir, and it's very close to similar to what's going on now. I just wanted to throw that in. Another great show, guys. I got to chuck in the towel. Catch you tomorrow. God bless.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. TVT, go ahead. You have your hand up, my friend.
Yeah, I got probably like a lot of you guys. I think a mental reset right now would be good. And I'm just kind of curious, like, okay, we've heard so many stories, so many different theories. I'm almost losing track of the facts.
Yeah.
Can we kind of do a recap on what the facts of the situation are at this point? That way,
Well, the facts of the situation in the United States,
what is happening?
The facts of the situation in the United States, the United States government is going ahead and denying any involvement with what's going on. They're denying that they know where the drones are coming from, where they're going to, where they're going back to at the end of the day. We've had former President Trump, who is getting daily national security briefings, going ahead and saying, we know where they're coming from, we know where they're going to, we know where they're going back to. And that kind of, if you want to call it from the American people's perspective, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong here, that's where we sit in the United States. And on top of that, we also have a huge amount of closures of public airspace that the average citizen could go ahead and put up actual drones into to try and figure out what's going on. And our government has stopped the average citizen from going ahead and putting up drones into that area. So it's just, it reeks of a cover-up and a disinformation campaign coming from our friends in Washington to what we're dealing with and what we're seeing here now. Now, if you look at the United Kingdom, again, they're saying from what's going on, this is beyond the abilities of the individuals. We're looking at something from a nation state. We're looking at advanced technology coming in, and from those both sides of the pond, we've got the United States commenting about what's going on in the UK and in the US, but none of the answers, what they're saying, adds up, does it, Mike? Mike, you said something, you're there. I think that's where they're at, if that makes sense, my friend. TVT, you had your hand up.
Yeah, I appreciate the clearing up the smoke, the chaos going on right now. Just stick to the facts right now until we know more, I think.
Yeah. That's about all we can do potentially, is to go ahead and look at. You know what? I've got a little clip here that's coming from one of the news broadcasts that's going ahead and showing all of the Chinese-owned land that basically surrounds our military bases across the country. Ed, go ahead. You're muted, my friend. Go ahead. You need to unmute yourself. Ed, you're muted. You unclick your microphone. There you go.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I got all hung up in that. I was just wondering if maybe Mike is raptured since he disappeared and the rest of us have been left behind to go through this world. Do you think?
Oh no, he's got family stuff going on. Usually, when he disappears, it's either the wife or the 4 kids who are reaching out and saying, "Hey, Daddy," or "Hey, Mike, take care of this situation."
You said we got a little humor in here.
I'm right here. Sorry about that.
Which one was it? Was it the wife or the kids, Mike? This time
it was the kids, and I just stepped away for 30 seconds. My apologies. So, what was the question, Ed?
Oh, I was just commenting. We disappeared, and I was just wondering if you'd been raptured. You all are not getting my humor tonight. I'm telling you.
No. I'm sorry. Just a little bit distracted with everything going on with the show and at home at the same time. This is live and in real time, Ed. So I do appreciate the humor.
Oh, God. If you look at this, Mike, we've got a video up that's coming from one of the new news broadcasts that's out there, going ahead and showing, actually it's coming from Fox Business, going ahead and showing all of the different Chinese-owned land that butts up against our military bases. Do you think this is something our government should allow, or do you think this is something we should step into and say, you know what, Chinese government, you don't have the right to own these lands or on our military bases?
No, you're right. And I believe we covered this exact point before David Grush testified last year here on the show. And nothing has changed, obviously, from then to now. No, of course, a foreign adversary should not be holding private land in the continental United States near restricted airspaces. The whole idea of that is
it doesn't make sense,
ridiculous.
does it?
No, none. Absolutely none.
It just shows how stupid our military and our government is. And while we say this is within the American legal system, we have to take a step back and say, should we be allowing this in the first place?
Oh, hell no.
No, Mike, it's more like fuck no, for that matter.
Right, exactly. Well, it's not Friday, Thomas.
Well,
but yeah,
I'm saying that
with you.
anyway. I didn't say it anywhere during today's show, but I'm going to say it now.
There you go.
Yeah.
But I have a feeling that there's a good possibility with the incoming administration, things like this might change for the better, not for the worse. I'm hoping.
I would hope so, Mike. I would hope so. It's been one heck of a great show tonight. If you look at that, we're over 2 hours into our broadcast time tonight. And you know what? I want to thank everybody for coming out to tonight's episode of Disclosure Tonight. More importantly, where did that go? Let's get that out here. I wanted to go ahead and thank our wonderful members who have given us super chats tonight. Who am I talking about? I want to go ahead and thank, where is it at? Let me bring this up. I want to go ahead and thank our supporters of Disclosure Tonight as well. That would include Incredible Mr. E. Thank you very much. Andrew Hastings, Seek Truth 778, Lord McCormick, Christian Morales, Bothell Badger, Tomothman, Michael Campbell, and Tamisha Bertrand again. Thank you very much for your wonderful support of everything we do here at Disclosure Tonight. More importantly, I want to thank our friends who have been hanging out in the chat today. Who am I talking about? Let's go ahead and get this up here and thank the people who've been in the chat today, including Adrian. Let's thank Alex Lewis, Andy W, Angry Unsugared Marshmallow Peep, a non-YouTube account. Let's thank Alex Lewis, Anton Goes, Bradley, Casey Mead, Chris Richardson, Christine. Thank you for being here. Cindy Fieldhaller, CND Boy. Let's thank Cutrin Carpenter, Corporal Abe, Craig Cypher 75 DT. Let's thank Stan, Dave C, Eric Roth and the Gurus, Pink Ployd, Firefly. Gary has been here along with Giant Arc Sephora. We had Gray Hair Discoveries. Griff has been here along with Helena Howling, I Rage. We also had Jake has been here, not from State Farm, but Jake Legalia. Let's thank Jan. Jeff has been here. Joey Stoner, Juliana, Kathy, Kelly Broughton with Piercing Blue Eyes. We had Kenzel, King Bull, Liberty Wing UK has been here. My God, the boxing match must have ended. Let's thank Mark Silto, Mary, MCP, PD5, Moon Pie has been here. Mobius, 1966, Ms. Medieval 66, Nancy Kuzmano. We also have had Nightshade Giggle, NVME. Forever First has been here along with Papa Pita. We had Paul Ross, Peggy and her South Florida friends, including Crockett, Tubbs, and Steve. We had Rain Storm Hunter, Renan, right meow, 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 meow. We had River B. McDonald, Roland Gibbs. Sadie's been here along with Sam, Solaris, Space Coast Flights. Stash has been here along with Tiara 2, Terrence Bruce. TG Epidemic, we had Mothman, Trish Bleast, Truth Seeker has been here along, Tiberius, the Angry White Rabbit has been around along with Warren and Krista Rowe. We had What the UFO, Yankee 58, and at the end of the list we had Dead Fish Cheese Spread. But more importantly, my friends, it's also been the friends in the back who have been hanging out with what we've been doing here today. And it would be the same without you. Let's thank our friends. Andy W., thanks for coming out tonight, my friend.
Yeah, cheers, Thomas. Absolutely great show again. I hope everybody enjoyed it, and we'll see you another night.
Thank you very much. I want to thank Corporal Abe. Thanks for coming out tonight, Abe.
Hey, happy holidays, everybody. Keep your eyes in the sky. Another great show, Thomas and Mike. Sorry I was late. Passed out late last
We'll get there, my friend. I also want to thank Ed Brown. Thanks for coming out today, Ed.
It's good to be here. And you all look up in the sky and find something to report so we have something to talk about tomorrow.
You better believe it, my friend. Laura Campbell, thanks for coming out.
Thanks, Thomas. I just wanted to share something to help alleviate some of the fear. We've been getting our own remote viewing, and there's somebody that's getting similar results that we have. I would just say check out YouTube Night Shift. They just had a remote viewer on, and it's very comparable to things we've been hearing as well.
There we go. I want to thank TVT. Thank you for your questions tonight, my friend.
Hey guys, another good show. You're welcome. Thanks for having us.
Absolutely. Mike, Disclosure, thank you for coming out, my friend.
Always a pleasure, Thomas. And thank you for the wonderful job you do for the audience and for the show. And you do a great job, my friend, and everyone is grateful. Let me do a little quick show housekeeping here. If we do not have any breaking news coverage for tomorrow, we will be taking tomorrow off, but we will return on Monday for our usually scheduled show.
But if something big happens tomorrow, we will be back. But in the meantime, we may take a day off because we deserve it.
Correct. We've earned it. You and I worked very hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. As we usually say at the end of every episode of Disclosure tonight, eyes open, no fear, be safe, everyone. But
go back to Party City where you belong.
And go there before they go out of business, because the remaining party cities are going out of business. On that note, as we usually say, good night, everybody. Love you. Y'all come back now. Here, take care, everybody. Bye-bye.